Welcome to Stuff They Didn't Teach Me in Sunday School. Not long ago, we went through an interview process for a new speaker for the Lutheran Hour, an important position. It's the pastoral position in Lutheran Church Missouri Synod that gets to preach to more people than any other pastor in the LCMS. He gets to talk to about 850,000 people every Sunday morning on the radio. As we interviewed for this position, as we narrowed the list down from about 150 initial candidates to the last 7, we asked those last 7 to preach a sermon, and we assigned them a text. And I had suggested that we give them a difficult text, not an easy one. The text we gave them was one we're going to look at today. It was Mark chapter 7, beginning of verse 24. Jesus left Jewish territory at this point, and he went into Gentile territory, 2 cities called Tyre and Sidon. They are Phoenician cities from Old Phoenicia, from the Old Testament. They're up along the coast, northern coast, north of Israel. So he's not in Jewish territory. He's not among Hebrews. He enters a house, and then we're told in verse 25, immediately a woman whose little daughter was possessed by an unclean spirit heard of him and came and fell down at his feet. Remember, she's a Gentile. Now the woman was a Greek, a Syrophoenician by birth. She begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. And he said to her, listen to this. Well, listen what he says to her. Let the children first be fed, for it's not right to take the children's bread, throw it to the dogs. The children he's talking about is the nation of Israel, the Jews. He said, let me first feed the children before I start throwing crumbs to you Gentile dogs. Boy, we are not used to hearing Jesus talk this way, are we? This is rude. This is crude. This is an inappropriate way to talk to a woman who just came to beg for mercy for her daughter. But I think Jesus is testing her just a bit. And she's pretty quick-witted. She answered him, yes, Lord. She recognizes him. Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs. Give me at least some crumbs. This lady is bold. This lady recognizes her Savior. She recognizes the source of help, and she uses whatever logic she can to get it. Lord, even the dogs get to lick up the crumbs. Drop some crumbs for me. And he said to her, for this saying, probably for the statement where she calls him Lord, for this saying, you may go your way. The demon has left your daughter. Ends up being a beautiful story. Ends up in the middle of it with Jesus being very out of character as we look at him, but being compassionate at the end as this woman pleads her case. He goes from there to the region called the Decapolis. It's the region of 10 cities, Gentile cities, so more emphasis on a Gentile area. They brought him a man who was deaf and had a speech impediment. He heals that. Verse 35, we're told his ears were opened, his tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. And he charged them to tell no one, but the more he charged them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. Now, you wonder why Jesus tells them don't tell anybody. Generally speaking, and this story is the exception to what I'm going to tell you. Generally speaking, when Jesus is in Gentile territory, he tells the folks, go tell everybody. The man who had the demons cast out of him and into the herd of pigs, he told him, go home and tell everybody what's happened to you. And yet generally speaking, when he's in Hebrew territory, Jewish territory, he says, don't tell anybody. The faster the word gets out in Jewish territory that he's the Messiah, the quicker the cross comes. Because he's not going to be the kind of Messiah that they're looking for. And as soon as they figure out that he's not the kind of Messiah they're looking for, he is a danger to them, a hazard to them, a threat to their way of life, and he's got to go. So I think generally when he's in Hebrew or Jewish territory, he says, don't tell anybody. Don't let this get out yet. Don't let it go until I'm ready for it to go. And yet when he's in Gentile territory, generally, except for this story right here, which may be because he's so close to Jewish territory, he says, go tell everybody. This story ends with an interesting line. It's the line from the people in the Decapolis. They were astonished beyond measure, saying, he has done all things well. Kind of a flashback to creation, isn't it? And everything was good. He even makes the deaf hear and the dumb speak. It was good what Jesus did, because the Jesus who's here at this point in time in history was also there at creation to say, it was good. It's still good.